off by saying that I understand the board is in a terrible position. I don't envy anyone. I hate doing this. But if I'm doing this, please understand, I feel I have no alternative. And I'm here to try and support you in a difficult and bizarre time. So right now I have a perfectly healthy kid at home because she's been exposed. She should be in school playing volleyball and playing her drum in the marching band. Instead, she is learning virtually at home like most of the JV, varsity, volleyball, and football teams, as well as a host of others. These kids are using a program that at one time last year caused half of our students to struggle to the point of failing. A program that our teachers were ill-equipped for and had no preparation or experience in providing, causing a multitude of problems, including simple oversights like lost explanations to egregious oversights like IEPs being ignored or forgotten. The current program also means that our kids may no longer participate in the extracurricular activities such as sports and music. I know this seems secondary to some, but I find them to be extraordinarily important. It teaches children the self-confidence, responsibility, sportsmanship, self-control, and dignity, just to name a few. It is also a tool used by parents and coaches and teachers to help guide the child through the education process and ultimately to graduate. And to a possible few others, they cannot showcase their talents, meaning they may be passed over when scholarships are awarded. I know no one at Keystone is looking at a D1 scholarship right now, but the help they may attain may be the difference in earning a higher education. So with that, I must ask, why are we willing to go down the same road as last year with masks and kicking healthy kids out of school? Why, when my oldest was in kindergarten, I believe about half the kids were out of the elementary school sick, as well as a lot of the teachers. Yet no one dreamed of shutting the school down. Why are we willing to repeat our failures over a situational hoax? According to what I found on the CDC's website today, about 74 million from birth to 17 years old, 548 of these people have died. Yes, all death is tragic. Yet statistically, there's almost no risk, which means almost no liability risk. The CDC itself was not recommending masks or quarantining anyone until the teachers union either strong-armed or paid them off as reported by various news sources. Because of this, the governor feels he can now wield authority overall and has found it backward to do it. However, in doing this, he is compelling you, the school board, the administration, and the teachers to break other laws that are on the books and outweigh the mandate. And I'm going to paraphrase just two of them. The first of which states that it is deemed child abuse to obstruct the airways in any way. A second is that you cannot force a child to wear or use a medical apparatus without the consent of the parent. A mask falls in that category. I understand that we need to be reasonable. So a plan where parents can decide if kids should or shouldn't wear a mask is reasonable. A plan where parents decide if a vaccine is in their family's best interest is reasonable. A plan where parents are notified that there has been an exposure and are asked to be extra vigilant and cautious is reasonable. I'm not asking for you to sue the state to promote an uprising, but I am asking for you as our representatives to take a stand now. Because if we do not stand now, when will we? It only gets harder the longer we wait. What's worth standing for? The vaccine, CRT, or the next ludicrous philosophy that makes makes pawns out of our children from Harrisburg or Washington. Enough is enough. Thank you for your time and your patience.
Before I introduce myself, I'd like to take a moment to thank the school board and administration for giving us the opportunity to voice our concerns. And I'd also like to thank the Keystone school staff who have been amazing to my children since we moved here last November. My name is Sylvia Jones, and my husband and I moved to the area with our 2 daughters late last fall after selling our business just north of Pittsburgh. We have a 4th and 2nd grader currently attending Keystone Elementary. We have been humbled by the way this community has welcomed us, and we are grateful for the relationships we have made so far. We couldn't have dreamed for a better place to raise our kids, and we knew after spending just a short time here, this is where we wanted to establish our roots as a family. We are so proud of the way this community has come together like it has, and we are absolutely honored to be a part of it. I'm inspired to speak tonight because I feel a call to advocate for my girls and their rights as human beings. I'm here to advocate for the rights of all the children K through 12 that are a part of our school district. I'm also here to advocate for the rights of us parents who, above anyone else, hold the responsibility for their best interests and to uphold those rights. These rights are provided to all of us, above anyone in any government, and no one cares more about our kids than we do. Among our rights is our right to liberty, and it is defined as follows. The state of being free within society from oppressive restrictions imposed by authority on one's way of life, behavior, or political views. I'm not up here pretending I have all of the answers. The reality is we are facing difficult decisions in the face of this pandemic. Decisions that have somehow been taken away from us as individuals and have been handed down by a governor who knows nothing about our town, county, or region. We all somehow found our way through all of the chaos since March 11, 2020. We adhered to the mandates, we isolated, we wore our masks, and our schools went virtual. Time has passed since then, and after navigating this new normal, we have a clearer vision of what kind of life we want for ourselves and for our children. We don't want a new normal, we want normal. We have assessed the risks and have made choices on how we individually want to go about our lives. These choices are now being threatened again by a man who stripped of this kind of authority at the polls. This is by definition an infringement on our right to liberty. These mandates are not only infringing on the liberty of the parents, but more importantly, the inalienable rights of our children. I feel that if our schools become a machine of the government, we will have no choice but to remove our children from the system. And we don't want to have to make those kinds of decisions. And to the school board and administration, we are absolutely not here to fight against you. We are begging you to fight with us. And all we ask is my kid, my choice. Thank you.
My name is Sarah, and I'm the proud mother of 2 elementary students. I'm here with my husband tonight, and I go by Mom, not to be confused by her person. I don't have any life facts for you. I don't have a whole lot to say except for that I'm tired of the ridiculousness and the pure hypocrisy that I've seen over the last 2 years. I feel like I'm living in an alternative universe. You're all masked, I can't see your face. My children have to wear these masks on their face all day long in school, and it's it's just like, what happened? 20 years ago, when you were in high school, could you imagine going through this? Can you imagine growing up in this world that we live in, where we can't see each other's faces? Can you imagine what that must be like for our children to have to develop in this environment, where they have to have a muzzle on their face all the time, and they can't understand what anybody's really saying? You can't even hear what you guys are saying out here because of the masks. All they do is hear us bicker and fight about COVID, whether it's a real thing or not. I can't imagine what it must be like for them to be scared all the time, that they're going to get their grandparents sick, or are they diseased? Can they talk to that kid over there or go play with the other kid? It's just complete hypocrisy. And we all know that when you get outside in the parking lot after this meeting, most of you will probably be taking your masks off to have a conversation. I can't imagine what this must do to their development. We already talk about these kids and how they're so much different than the way we were when we were children. We talk about how they're on the internet all the time, how they don't have social skills, how none of them want to work, how they just text everything and they don't know how to communicate appropriately. How do you think they're going to be 10 years from now? I've been in mental health for 20 years. 20 years, and I'm here to tell you that the suicide numbers are rising, the inability to communicate appropriately because they have anxiety disorders, they're cutting, they are isolating, they're not communicating well. So we're saying all these things about them, and then we want to put the masks on them, and we want them to be further anxious. We want them to have more anxiety. Some of these kids love the masks. They don't want to take them off. They want to have them on all the time because then they don't have to talk to anybody. They actually like it. I don't want my kid to grow up that way. It's not normal that we are calling crisis on a weekly basis for our high school students. That's not normal. We didn't do that when I was in high school. I didn't even know there was a crisis number when I was in high school. But we're doing it with these kids now. Can you imagine when our elementary students are in high school, how much worse it's going to be? That they're growing up in this environment. It's been 2 years, okay? It needs to stop. As far as the contact tracing goes, it just doesn't make any sense. You cannot tell me that my kid's been exposed because they sat next to another kid a couple hours earlier or yesterday. None of it makes any sense. They could have been exposed to Uncle Charlie at supper the night before. You have no way of knowing when my child was exposed. Last year, my kids got sent home 3 times. They had to quarantine throughout the school year. And each time it was because of the school bus. They were exposed on the school bus. So the 3rd time, I was like, all right, hold on. I need to ask some questions. This is the 3rd time that I've had to have my kids be home. And so I called into the school and I said, can you just tell me how exactly you're determining that my child was exposed? And they said, okay, well, first we look at the seating chart on the school bus. And then we pulled the camera from the school bus. And I was like, oh, okay, well, then they must have looked into it. Well, about an hour went by and I thought, I'm going to give that school bus driver a call because I'm friends with her. I'm going to see what she has to say. So I called her and she said that she didn't know anything about my kids being exposed. All right. Well, that's what the school's saying. I said, did they talk to you? Did they come on your bus and check your camera? No, they did not come on my bus and check my camera. It was just a flat out lie. And she said, if they're going by the seating chart, well, that's from September, and it's now May, so, you know, I don't know what seating chart they're going off of. So I called back into the school, and I said, hey, you know, I talked to the bus driver, and she said that he didn't check the cameras, and the seating chart is old. Okay, well, we'll look into it, Sarah. So I got a call like an hour later, and I was told that my kids were exposed, that was the end of it. They needed to be out of school for 2 weeks of quarantine. I was like, oh, okay, well, picked up the phone again. I called the bus driver and I said, hey, you know, they're telling me that they checked your cameras in the seating chart and all this stuff. I guess we need to drop in. She said, Sarah, I'm really sorry, but I was told I'm not allowed to talk to you anymore. Okay, so my point to you is this whole exposure thing, you know, I don't think we're going to take that so lightly anymore. I don't think we're just going to, when you give us that quick phone call and you say my kid was exposed, I'm going to need you to just tell me what that means. I'm going to need you to explain that a little bit further of how you've determined that they need to quarantine. Do you have any idea what that does to me? I now have to miss work for 2 weeks. I've exhausted all my PTO. I'm not getting paid. The people I work with are now put upon. All of this, all of the psychological effects it has on my kid, not to mention the fact that I'm not a teacher, so I don't know what I'm doing when I get out this laptop and I'm having to decide, you know, now I'm a teacher, guys, come on over and sit down. They're like, Mom, I just want to sleep in today. I don't want you to be my teacher. I want you to be my mommy and, you know, take care of the And the last thing I want to say is, if you really think that this is a pandemic, and you think that you need to argue about whether or not this is a pandemic, then it's probably not a pandemic. It's an organization. There wouldn't be homeless on the streets. They would all be dead. If this was truly a pandemic, you would see fresh graves being dug in every cemetery you drive past. The fact of the matter is, that's not the case. So I'm asking you to just please help us come together. We should not be arguing about this anymore. We shouldn't be divided anymore. What we should be doing as a nation is coming together and figuring out who put this all into place in the first place. We should be looking at where this came from and how we can unite as Americans to go after the people that put this all into motion and divided us into And that's all I have to say about that.
Working within the district in Clarion County for the last 8 school years. I'm also the mother to 3 great kids, 2 that attend Keystone Elementary. I'd like to start by thanking our administration and school board for trying their best to listen and accommodate our parental choices so far this school year. I think we are all here for the same reasons. Whether we agree or we disagree with these mandates, we are all trying to make the best decisions for our kids, our students, and our community. What I've experienced and seen working in the public school system the last 2 years has really changed how I feel about my job. I no longer feel I am doing what's in the best interest for my students. Between the contact tracing, quarantining, social distancing, virtual learning, and of course the mask mandate. Working in an elementary school, I've seen countless students chewing on their masks, seen them actually trade masks with their friends. I've seen students picking up their masks off the cafeteria floor and putting them back on their face, picking their nose under their masks, and overall touching their faces more due to the masks, along with most of the students and staff not wearing masks correctly. The selectivity of masks within the public school system baffles me. They can play together without masks in sports and on the playground, but yet at their desks, the virus somehow exists again. As a mother to a son on the autism spectrum, I'm especially concerned about the effects of another school year of masks and shields. My son does not have to wear a mask or a shield because of his diagnosis. However, by all his peers' faces being covered for yet another school year, my son will once again not be getting any peer-modeled speech at school. My son, along with pretty much every special needs student in the public school system, learns to communicate better by looking at others' mouths and their facial expressions when communicating. I assume that a majority feel like me and are terrified of the difficulties that lie ahead if masks become the norm in our school again. Students are being stripped of a proper social atmosphere, and it's creating an unnecessary problem of fear and division between our children. Some students do not want to sit near an unmasked peer in fear of getting quarantined from a sport. Children are living in fear of being bullied of wearing one or not wearing one. What I can't seem to understand are those who are on the other side of my kids, my choice. I ask why. Why do you think it's necessary to take away my parental control? You see, I don't care if you send your child with 10 masks or send them in full PPE gear, because you see, it's not my child, it's not my decision. What I feel is right for my family may not be the same as yours. I think most would agree that last year we were still unsure about the dangers of the virus, and we complied because we simply did not want to hurt our district and our teachers that we all love. This school year, I cannot sit back and comply by letting the bureaucrats in Harrisburg make medical decisions for my children. I do not believe science is at the heart of this matter, and my fear of compliance of what is to come if we don't fight this now is far too great. I will pull my children and put them in cyber unaffiliated with this district if you do not continue to stand up to these unconstitutional mandates. Because you see, if you do not feel I have the right to choose what goes on my child's face and into their body, then you are no longer putting my children's welfare and safety first. With that being said, I do not envy being a school board member, but we need you more than ever to stand with us. Being threatened by funding and other legalities from Tonawanda will be obsolete if the majority of students withdraw for cyber school. Those opposed to parents having a choice, you are essentially putting yourself and myself out of a job, as we would not have a job without parents choosing to send their children to the public school system. I end with asking, when is enough enough? How many school years will these pointless mitigation efforts take place? When will they stop sending mass amounts of healthy children home to quarantine for weeks at a time? The second largest school district in the United States already went far beyond just a mask. They're already mandating the vaccine. I wonder, will there be any resistance from our administration and board when we are sitting here talking about a vaccination mandate rather than a mask mandate for our children? This isn't going to stop without a fight that we need to stand against, united, right here, right now. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Missy Ford. I'm a Keystone graduate, as well as my husband Tom and my son Tom Brazier, and we have a daughter in kindergarten. I want to thank you for the way you handled the mask mandate. If you feel like you have to place with our young children, and I believe that should be done also with quarantine and contact tracing and vaccinations.
Speak up, babe.
CDC is making recommendations for schools just like they're making recommendations for every individual in the U.S. Every school district can decide which recommendations to follow, as you've shown with the mask mandate. And just like every individual in the U.S. can for themselves and their family when out in public, and should also be able to do anywhere. As a parent, I have to consider health risks and benefits for every child I have, including when to keep them home for sickness, when to take them to the doctor, and when to get them tested. As a healthcare professional, I've been trained in proper donning and doffing of personal protective equipment within skilled nursing homes to protect my patients, just as many other parents in the district. Have the teachers been trained in proper PPP protocols? Are they familiar with the CDC's recommendations and proper mask wearing? It's more than just placing a mask over your face.
No teacher should even have to determine whether one child or another has been properly wearing a mask for an entire day to determine if they should quarantine or not. Just because there's a mask on their face does not mean it is a proper mask. Or that it's properly being worn, or that it's been properly donned and doffed to reduce transmission per the CDC guidelines. And I know no school is actually following such protocols, as just within this board, I see improper masks and I've seen improper donning and doffing. Further than 15 minutes without proper wearing, do you really think any child is throughout an entire school day? You're taking our rights away to make choices for our own children. You're putting unattainable and unfair expectations on our teachers to make calls about our children's health and subjecting our children to discrimination, a lesser education with remote learning or quarantining, fear of each other, and fear from a virus they're less likely to die from than an accident. Out of over 56,000 total child deaths in 2020 to 2021, only 0.007% of them were from COVID. Why are we keeping them home for this? Is this really what every school year is going to look like from now on? Is this how we have to raise our children if we don't stop it now? We're far beyond flattening the curve, and animals carry this virus. It's not going away. As elected officials chosen by the district to represent the people of the district, I would expect the board to make decisions based on the majority's wishes. I should not have to homeschool my healthy child as the part of the majority who do not agree with masks, quarantines, or shutdowns over a virus that we can determine for our own kids when to keep them home, when to send them, and when to send them, just as we have done every year for any sickness exposure. Who exactly is holding you accountable for these recommendations? What exactly are the repercussions for not upholding them? If you don't know, that's a problem, and we should find out. If you do know, please be transparent with the district and let us know what we can do to help you fight this and what you will be doing to stand up for the parents to make choices for our own children and for our kids to have full access to the public education, our tax money funds.
Good evening. First of all, I would like the board for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Liza Say. Some of you may know who I am, but for those who don't, I am Jason Say's wife. Our son, Colin, graduated from Keystone last year, and we have a daughter, Addison, in the 8th grade. Unfortunately, Jason could not be here tonight. As most of you are already aware, Jason is a natural public speaker and enjoys being in the spotlight. Opposites do attract. And speaking at these type of events is a little out of my comfort zone, but we both felt it was important to represent our family at tonight's meeting. Together, we have prepared the following statements. I did not grow up around here, but when Jason wanted to relocate our family back to Knox 12 years ago to raise our children and send them to the same school he graduated from, I very reluctantly agreed. Over the years, I have grown to love this town and school district, just as he does. But today, my heart breaks when I see what is happening in our school. Last year, we had to watch our son Colin, who was a senior, get robbed of so much. It was truly one of the most difficult times of our life. I never imagined in a million years that we would be planning homecoming at our house and organizing a high school prom to try and provide the kids with as much normalcy as possible. Last year, we failed our children in so many ways. Academically, socially, and mentally. First, we failed them academically. Knowing that the school was most likely going to shut down, our school district developed a VLN program that was not only offered, but it was actively encouraged that our children attend. A program that the school was completely aware is inadequate and in no way provides a proper education for our kids. Our school was not equipped to virtually school our kids, and VLN was not an adequate substitution. In essence, the school chose to do what was best for the district while sacrificing our kids. Now, this was somewhat understandable as we were all trying to do the best we could in uncharted territory. But what is absolutely inexcusable is that we are implementing the exact same failed programs and policies that we did last year. The school will proactively say to parents, if you don't like some of the school policies, then we we encourage your child to join our BLM program. That is inexcusable. Sending kids to almost certain failure while at the same time misinforming parents and students regarding better options for online schooling is unacceptable. We are implementing ridiculous contact tracing policies that will make it impossible to consistently keep kids in school. At Butler High School, their contact tracing program includes no mandatory quarantine for close contacts. The parents are simply notified that their children were in close contact, and the parents decide what they want to do. At Keystone, we have hundreds of kids quarantined because of close contact. We watch as our football team, who is having an unbelievable year, is going to once again be robbed of a full season because of these ridiculous policies dictated to us by Governor Wolf and the CDC. Get our kids back in school. All of these parents and community members are here tonight because we are frustrated, angry, and tired. Frustrated because we seem to have a school board and administration who simply falls in line with no fight in regards to Governor Wolf's demands, even when we know it is wrong. We are angry because it seems we have a school district who is not focusing on our kids' best interests. We continue to implement policies that make it impossible for kids to stay in school. Mainly, we are tired. We are tired of seeing our children suffer. We are tired of seeing our kids have no idea what craziness the next day will bring. In closing, too many people are looking at the situation from an us versus them approach. We do not see our teachers, administration, or school board as the enemy. In actuality, we want you on our team. That is why we are here. The school board has some very important decisions to make. If the school board continues down the road we are on and will not agree to the very simple principle of my kid, my choice, everyone loses. Our district loses a lot of money and a lot of students. Our teachers have much to lose from not having their students in the classrooms, and our community loses as a whole. If the school board agrees to our request, our district wins by keeping the funding at the schools. Our parents win by having their kids in school for in-person learning, and our teachers win as well. What you haven't heard me mention yet is our kids. Because one way or another, our kids are going to win this time. If the school board agrees to our requests, then they get to stay in school with common sense policies designed to keep kids in person while always acknowledging my kid, my choice. If the school board does not agree to these reasonable requests, our kids will still win. It won't be like the last time. We will pull together, as this community always does, to make sure we help every kid possible. We will not allow our kids to sit at home isolated without support. There will be structure, socialization, and assistance for all of our kids who want it. For far too long, decisions have been made with very little consideration as to what would be best for our kids. No longer will we stand by while decisions and policies are being implemented that do not put our kids first and do not abide by my kid, my choice. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Good evening. My name is Tom Spence. My son Joseph is in 7th grade, and I appreciate the time and consideration to speak this evening. The situation the school board members are presently in is very difficult. There are a lot of legal, medical, resource, and personal considerations that I understand need to be made. I do not envy your position, and I respect anyone who's willing to approach this situation with an open mind. I submit to you there are legal considerations that may have not been presented to you in respect to the Department of Health and School Masking Order. I respectfully requesting that you take these considerations into account, discuss them with your solicitor and with the full board. This is a discussion that would best occur in public and not in an executive session. Pennsylvania law has always been slanted away from a strong central government and towards local control and individual rights. The Constitution of 1968 states all power is inherent in the people, and all three governments are founded on their authority and instituted and their peace, safety, and happiness. For the advancement of these ends, they have at all times an inalienable and indefensible right to alter, reform, or abolish their government in such manner as they may think proper. The Constitution went on to reinforce the right of home rule. Home rule gives the communities very broad powers to determine the organization and operation of their local governments. The school board is a type of local government corporate body. The School Code of 1949 gave broad powers to school districts in terms of how to operate the school. Several school districts in this Commonwealth shall be and hereby are vested as bodies corporate with all necessary powers to enable them to carry out the provisions of this Act. There is nothing in the school code indicating that the authority of the Department of Health supersedes the authority of the school district. Rather than maintaining the local control that the school district already has, the Department of Health is seeking to take away control of the school district for an indefinite period of time in indefinite circumstances. In other words, there is no end to the Department of Health order. There is no end nor end condition. If the school district keeps that control that it is supposed to have, it can decide when and if masking will be used and to what end will be. To accept this loss of power is giving up the power your constituents have given you. The U.S. Constitution and the PA Constitution require that individual rights only be narrowly restricted by the government. There are several constitutional rights implemented by mandating masks: liberty, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of movement, freedom of religion. The United States Supreme Court has held those rights can be restricted, but only be restricted as to the time and place and manner. Constitutional rights of free speech and assembly, however, are not absolute. The states may place consent, natural time, place, and manner regulations on speech, assembly, so long as they are designed to serve a substantial government interest and do not unreasonably limit alternative avenues of communication. In May 2021, the voters of Pennsylvania approved ballot questions even further limiting the emergency powers of the governor. It is clear that the people of Pennsylvania do agree that there are emergency situations in which the governor of the Department of Health must be given broad direction or discretion to act. However, it is also clear that voters do not believe that the broad discretion should continue for an unlimited period of time. That is a major problem with this order. It is literally never-ending. The Department of Health could easily narrowly tailor the order by making it only effective for a period of weeks or until certain objective conditions such as the lower infection rate are met. Instead, the Department of Health has attempted to take this power on an unending basis. I personally believe that seeking broad, indefinite control over others is terrifying and contrary to the principles on which the country and Commonwealth are founded. Why did the Department of Health put objective limits on this order? They should be concerning the board members. The Department of Health has threatened school board members with individual liability. This is nonsense. Under Pennsylvania law, school districts and school board members have broad sovereign immunity, which means that the school board and school board members generally cannot be sued. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of that, and I'm not going to ask for a show of hands because I don't want to call anybody out. A school district or board member only loses its sovereign immunity in 10 different situations as follows: vehicle liability, medical professional liability, care, custody, or control of personal property, Commonwealth real estate, highways and sidewalks, potholes and other dangerous conditions, care, custody, and control of animals, liquor, store sales, National Guard activities, toxoids and vaccines, and sexual abuse. None of these 10 apply to the school board decisions in making on masking. In fact, I've been unable to find any situation in which a school board member has ever been held liable for policy decisions. Policy decisions fall squarely within the sovereign immunity. It is important to note that there is no exception for viruses and diseases. The reference of The reference to a loss of immunity to toxoids and vaccines refers to liability for government institutions that administer vaccines and medications. Schools and school boards are therefore protected from being sued in COVID cases by sovereign immunity. In decades past, there were disease outbreaks in schools. Measles, mumps, and chickenpox were very common in schools. The entire class was endowed with the disease, yet the schools were never sued. This is because the schools were protected by sovereign immunity. It is also likely due in part to the fact that it is impossible to trace the source of an individual outbreak, and the fact that children almost never compensate with damages. Being sick in bed for a couple of days is non-compensable damages. Attorneys won't take the case. If the potential to be sued is a real concern, I would think the Department of Health would be able to cite some real-life examples. They cannot because there are none. There's also been a threat that the administrator might lose their job or license if they do not comply with the order. This is nonsense. In short, the threat to school board members and administrations are hollow. There is no precedent for any negative action being taken against board members or administrators failing to follow the Department of Health order. In fact, there is only one recorded case of this law being used, which was in a situation of a teacher which falsified a supervisor's signature on an IEP. The Department of Health order has created something new. What the Department of Health order does not fall within the ADA, the PA school code, or federal school law. There is not a previously existing system of exceptions like this anywhere under the law. It is shocking that the Department of Health did not choose to blend this order into existing law. This is the larger part of the order's problem. United States law is based on precedent. Courts are very reluctant to try something new. Judges are always asking me to point to cases showing that what I am requesting has been done before. Rather than using existing legal mechanisms, the Department of Health has very unwisely created a new system. With that being said, the words that I read this evening were from attorney Eric Wise, who represented the Taste of Sicily. He tried 6 cases with citations based on the selection law, assisted other attorneys with approximately 6 more. I'm not aware of anyone being found guilty of the citations. There are no clear consequences. Earlier this year, the Department of Health sought injunctions against 50 bars and restaurants that had denied its orders. He represented those bars and restaurants through free PA and filed preliminary injunctions. When the case was ready for argument, the Department of Health would approve the case. I implore you to read the document. I have 10 copies which I will lay on the table afterwards. I would implore you to understand what sovereign immunity means. Carefully consider what is intended as a result of your actions. I ask you if they're better for you or for the government. You've been elected by these constituents to do a job. I've seen healthcare professionals, I see members, leaders of this community get up here and ask you to side with us. We will fight for you. It's about us. It's about the kids, plain and simple. So you can either stand with the governor or you can stand with all these parents that are behind us. With that being said, I want to ask, will there be a vote this evening as to whether the mask mandate will proceed moving forward or will have done at a later time?
It will be brought.
Perfect. Thank you for your time. I understand this is a difficult situation to be in. I appreciate all the consideration. Thank you. I was asked to come here by Jason Say. I read a little bit in the paper about what was going on, and he asked me to come and say something. So my son Nathan, he went to school here at Keystone, and for whatever reason, he couldn't get home. So he didn't get the Pennsylvania side. And the best thing he ever did, absolute best thing he ever did. You know, no masks, no issues, playing the sports. He wasn't, so he couldn't play sports, but that's a lie. You can. Again, I don't have a kid in this school right now, but I did. And I'm just here to tell you, you want to make a difference, you want it to change, you have to do it yourself. You can stand here and talk to them all day long. Their hands are tied. You guys have to make a decision. Change comes in numbers, and that's how we do it.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for your comments. Ready for the report?
All right, thank you, Mr. Slagle. So obviously tonight it is demonstrated that this is a divisive issue. I've heard from many of you personally. I have responded to emails on both sides of this issue. This is a very divisive issue. And you know, we're not always going to agree, and sometimes we won't agree. Obviously, how we are taking the mask mandate right now, where we are offering a mask or shield to all students, is going okay. But only 10% of our students are currently wearing a mask. That has caused a total of 16 positive cases of COVID-19 across the district this week. And as some of you have pointed out, we have 183 students and faculty and staff quarantined due to being close contact. The lack of students wearing facial coverings within some of Pennsylvania's school districts has not been lost on the Pennsylvania Department of Education or the Pennsylvania Department of Health, who has provided the district with a list of consequences for not fully and vigorously following the facial covering order. These consequences include financial penalties on board members at a per student per day rate, financial penalties to the district, removal of the district's liability insurance, removal of the administration's educational certificates or the superintendent's commission, investigation by the United States Department of Education's Division of Civil Rights, civil lawsuits brought up upon the district, and personal lawsuits brought upon board members and the administration. Along with these consequences, the Pennsylvania Department of Education has additionally revised their parameters to ensure that medical documentation from a doctor or counselor must be present for a mask exemption to be honored, and a possible 504 plan to be implemented. Parents cannot opt out their children from wearing a mask due to their opposition to the face covering. This information is confirmed by the school legal counsel at Knoxville, Boston, here in Pennsylvania. With this information, I have no other choice than to make my recommendation to the board to alter the district's approach to enforce the facial covering in its entirety. I recommend to the board that we continue our current approach this week to allow our parents, students, time to speak with their local doctors and counselors to gain medical documentation and a medical exemption. On Monday, September 27th, all students, if the board would approve this, will be expected to wear a face mask or a face shield. Beginning on September 27th, all students not wearing a mask will be provided one. If a student would refuse, students and an administrator will call home. If the student or parent continues to refuse the facial covering, the student will be sent home. I understand this recommendation will be met with anger and frustration, and others will find relief and satisfaction. I also understand that with this recommendation, we have the chance to lose hundreds of students inside the charter school. And I understand that, and that weighs heavy on me. And that is true. However,
Did you not listen to what we were just saying?
However, I continue to feel that a full enforcement of the mask order is our only path forward to the safety of our students, staff, and the district.
What about the science?
questions?
You clearly made this decision without even asking. We protect you. You still get this.
Governor Wolf.
That seems so protect you either.
Your mind was made up before we walked in.
You can side with the governor, or you can side with the constituents.
Hey, I'm from Union. I'll tell you, my child, all three of my children, okay? My two older ones, my daughter, she didn't want to use alcohol. She put the mask on over her chin. She was allowed to continue on, okay? Just so that we comply, okay? My oldest son, he's too afraid of the teacher. He doesn't want to get in trouble, so he wore a mask. He went to school. My elementary school student had the grass to stand up to the teacher, stand up to the principal, and he waited his turn, him and all the other students, one by one, the parents came back and picked up their student. And the ones that did get picked up, they eventually complied. They put the mask on, they went back to their classroom. My boy was the last one to comply. I want to know what he was coerced into doing. From what I understand, he was handed basically a packet full of worksheets. That is not proper education that his classmates are getting. That is not the education. Simple without a mask. Do not pick them up. Stand together. Okay? If you pick them up, you're complying basically because the thing is to do master teeth. Okay? They are required to give a student the proper education, and are required to feed them. Do not pick them up until they've been fed and educated.
That's right.
I was not going to talk tonight, but here's what happened. My kid has been in school for 4 days this year. I called the school because I was first-hand exposed at work. I had a negative rapid test, so I kept my kids home while I got tested, thinking I was doing the right thing to keep people safe. I called the school, so I kept them home. They presumed that I was positive. Quarantine my kids for 20 days. Wow. My kids went back to school the first day today. My son, I have 3 kids, one in 4th, one in 7th, and one in 10th grade. My 7th grader was a wreck. He didn't sleep last night, anxiety out the wazoo. I have him probably going to counseling now. He does it at school, he hates it. His kids were bullying him at lunch. They said things in the hallway like, oh, you're fine with that. Like, they didn't want him there, he got kicked out of the lunch field because they had assigned seating, they couldn't sit with friends. On the bus, it was another crack.
That's segregation.
Yes.
Bullying, right.
No one cares about that, do they?
No, you're not bullying. No bullying.
We need to go to the school board and we need to ask them how we can make it through this with our children. We are arguing, we are fighting, we cannot do it anymore. We can't be yelling, we can't be doing anything. What can we do as parents to back you up? What can we do further to try to help you? Is there any way that we could meet in the middle? Because we are all here, you guys are here because you care about our kids. And we're trying to tell you what we think is best for our kids, and we just want to lend a hand out. Just help us. What can we do? No arguing, no yelling. I can feel the tenseness in the room. I've been shaking the whole time. We need to work together for our children. What can we do?
I just have a quick comment. I was not going to talk because of the risk of being misquoted by papers. For real, this is personal. And I'm sorry for not speaking during the right time, but I had my son's permission to speak tonight and chose not to for fear of being misquoted. Your answer is just this to get a medical exemption from your doctor or your mental health professional. And I don't know how many people have success in that, but my son has fought depression and anxiety and has OCD for over 2 years. We've been in counseling for over 2 years. He's on 2 different medications to try to help him get out of bed every day and continue through his day. We've had psychiatric evaluations. He's had an IEP for 3 years or so. I could not get him a medical or a mental health exemption written because of, and I don't want to use the word cowardice because this is people's livelihood. They're risking losing their medical license, risking losing their mental health licenses for counseling. They will not write him an exemption, and if he cannot get one, who can? That is I understand it's so easy to say. Just get an exemption if you feel that that's that important, or if you feel you can. We can't get them. We cannot get them, so that's not the solution. I can't help my child anymore.
Can you tell us how long, like, is there any indication of how long they would have to do this? Like, in the beginning, this is flat the curve, and we see how that went, so like, how long would these
October 1st, they will review it. I don't know what else, I don't know what.
I just don't know what we're trying to accomplish. Like, if there was an end game here, then maybe, but what is the end game? Like, 0 COVID cases in the school? What is the end game?
It's never gonna happen.
Because kids are always gonna get sick. Even last year, we've been asked mandates and everybody wearing them. All the students, kids were still getting sick. So I just don't know, like, what exactly we're trying to accomplish.
Excuse me, can I say something? My grandsons did go to this school district. It's easy for me to say because I do not have children in the school district or little children anymore. But you have made your choice, and I am so proud of you for making your choice to do the cyber school. My personal suggestion would be anybody that's serious about that, leave now because they will not listen.
This is what I just told union parents. This is where we fail. Because my children have homeschooled, my children have homeschooled cyber school for the last 6 years. This is the first year we've sent them back to public school because we've got to stand together. If you pull them out and put them in a cyber school, we're not going to win. There's strength in numbers.
I'm a local physician here at chiropractor. I just moved here, you heard my wife speak earlier. To do one thing, if these masks actually work. The size of coronavirus microns is 0.1 microns. These masks, what you fellows are wearing right now, they keep out about 2,000 times the size of the coronavirus. Okay? So these masks do not work. They have done studies on masks over the past 40 years. Of course, the masks work. I'm telling you, they do not work. They've done studies with flu virus. They've done studies since the 70s on these masks. Look how many times you've all touched your face. You especially, Mr. McCormick. I've watched you from the back. Touching surfaces, not from coughing or staying 6 feet apart. The virus doesn't go 7 feet, 6 feet. What happened to common sense? That's what I want to know. Every single parent, you're an inconvenience. You're inconvenienced because now you have to stay home, find some babysitter to watch your kid. You need to take that into consideration when you make your statement. You made your statement before you even, after you wrote this down, you had your mind made up before you even listened to any of us. You took everything that everybody passionately spoke about, and you said, no, we're not doing it.
We're not afraid.
We're not afraid. We are standing up. This is, come on. This is our children. This is our children. It's like, this is a great community. You guys are awesome. I love you. Stand up for us. Stand up for us. I spent my entire life studying the human body. Okay? The masks don't work. They don't. You're harming children. You see, you heard it from everybody.
I can't hear everything super well. Lost part of my hearing. But everything I could hear from you after everyone was done speaking sounded an awful lot like Harrisburg.
Yes.
I want to hear from my school board.
Right.
My daughter goes here. In this elementary school. Nowhere else. We had how many people here tonight say, we want to back you? I'm not from here. I've spent less than a quarter of my life here. I found this place, by the grace of God, to have calmness that has benefited my life better than anything else. I'm from a big city, and trust me, this place is better. But hear me when I say, we want to back you, but we can't unless you back us.
Yes.
And has been her entire life. This year, I'm still waiting on the counselor to call me back. I've had nightmares every night. My daughter has had mental issue with everything that's happened since we went to virtual last year. And unfortunately, I can't say too much because my daughter did well with the virtual because I sat with her the entire time because I had to work from home. I guided her. I was fortunate enough to allow myself to do that. Not everyone can. And those of you who have children who sit or sitting up there currently, I hope and I pray that you understand that not everyone can do that. If my daughter had to go anywhere other than my home, she wouldn't have gotten an education last year because no one else in our family has the means. My family lives out in the state. They don't have internet. Am I going to bus her somewhere? Who's paying for that? Who's providing the amenity that I need to get her to a safe place? Because currently, I already had one instance this year where I walked my daughter out of the school when she was wearing a mask that I didn't send her in with because I know if she wears a mask, her health is affected because she does have a medical condition. And as we walked out those doors after I picked her up, she was wearing a mask I didn't send her in with. And when I asked her why, she said her teacher said she had to wear it. Whether that was the amusing to a 7-year-old misunderstanding the intention of her teacher or not, she didn't feel comfortable saying no because I raised my daughter to respect those with authority. When my daughter is here, I expect those of you who are here to act as an official surrogate, as a parent. When I'm not around, I need other people to take. It takes a village to raise a child. I firmly believe that. Everybody else here clearly has the intention to take care of their kids because they're good people. Anybody here who needs something? I live on Center Street. I'm not my door. If you're going to need it. But here's the deal. We bring our kids here because we trust you guys to do what's right. And I understand you guys are under obscene amounts of pressure, and it's not fair to you. But we came in here and spent the time to tell you what we felt tonight. And we want to back you. And I understand you're in an impossible situation. But I have 2 requests, and they're apparently to me, they're very simple. One, if you don't have what is necessary to make a decision against pressures from outside, despite living here and not outside, I understand. It happens. I've lived through it. I've spent too many years going around fighting fights that weren't actually mine. I ask you to step down. And the last one, which I think is the easiest to fulfill, no matter what the decision of the board tonight, I ask that the minutes, including that which is the record of how each individual on the board votes, is made public so that we can make an educated decision, because We, fortunately, are already been educated, and we'd like to make our own decisions based off of all the information that is available. Thank you.
Hey, John, could I speak for 1 second, please? You got time for one more? I'm Buck Weaver. I raised 4 crazy daughters, so they're not all on here with coronavirus. I graduated from school just barely. I do believe Jim, you was on the board when I graduated, maybe? John, you was on the board? Ken, I think you. Vern, you were sitting here. Greg, maybe? My memory serves me correct. You know, one thing I remember is right after I graduated, the football stadium needed to be done. Okay? And this is something that really left a lasting impression on me because I know Ken brought welders, and I seen everyday guys like me that work with their hands, and I seen guys in suit and ties. Everybody gets together in this community, and they rebuilt the bleachers, did a lot of stuff to the football fields. I think the lights got put up, the grandstands got built. We all came together. I remember that. That left a lasting impression on me. Okay? So what kind of impression do you guys want to leave on the kids today? Like, I know a lot of you guys individually. I know what kind of men you are. Okay? Is there freedom for sale today? There's a word we haven't heard yet. It's freedom.
Right.
That's what it looks like, Mr. Warwick. I'm not ditching on you, but you read off a sheet. It's my kids' freedom for sale. Because there's people that fought, right? Fought wars, and those are free. Down the road. That's all I got to say about that.
I wasn't here to speak, but I can't help it because nobody else is going to say. Our government wants this right now, and I hope you all realize that. Our government wants to divide us. They've done it from day one. They've been continuing to do it, and if you don't know how they've been doing that, then you're blind and you've been living under a rock.
Yes.
My history teachers taught me how our government is dividing us. And right now, it is dividing us from the people that I love. I don't want to send my kid anywhere else. I love Keystone. I'll say it once, I'll say it again, and I would hope to continue to say that. The teachers here are amazing. The staff is amazing. This school board is amazing. Why are we crumbling? Because our government is coming in between us. They are not in charge of us. We pay taxes. Without us, we don't have government, because where else are they going to get their money?
Right.
We have to go. People together for a meeting, and I'm not talking 300 parents. My grandparents came, my uncle came, my mom came, I came, everybody came. We pay taxes. We have a say. 10% of those children are wearing masks because they don't want to. They don't want to. If masks worked, then we would flatten the curve for the first 15 days or whatever we did. The future of our children, this is what it's going to be. We're going to be fighting all the time. We don't want that. I don't want that for my kid. The government is getting what they want right here, right now, and I don't like it because the government is not in charge of us, and we all know that. We elect them.
Yes.
We elect them. Please do not let the government win. Let our children win. This is about our children. This isn't politics. I don't care if you want to wear a mask or you don't want to wear a mask. That's why we want your right to choose. If you think your vaccine works, then get your vaccine and let us all alone. You think your mask works? Wear a mask, whatever. But this is about our kids, and we're letting the government come in between that, and it's ridiculous. This is not what America is about. I am 23 years old, and I thought I would be 50 before this stuff started happening. I'm getting married in 2 weeks. I don't even want to have a baby because look at this. This is disgusting. It's disgusting. We can't say
Mr. McCormick, can I ask, will your guidance be the same when they're coming after us for K-12 vaccine mandates? Because they're going to come with you with the same legalities, and are then you're going to say, well, they recommend this, or they'll lose their funding. Well, you're going to lose all your funding if all of these parents pull out. You would rather bankrupt this district than fight with us.
every single decision, whether it comes from the state, whether it comes from whatever outside organization, and I look at it, for this specific situation, I will find some of these consequences concerning, not for just myself, or the administration, or the board, but for the district as a whole.
What about our kids?
Not your pocketbook.
That's right.
Your pocketbook is still our tax dollars. You're not gonna have our tax dollars, so you're not gonna have it anyway.
Worry about the kids.
Not yourself.
That's what it is.
I always worry about the kids.
All right, I'd like the board to do and do their votes, and then again, I would like to vehemently request the minutes, including all of the way each board member voted on the subject.
Needless to say, anyone that doesn't vote to remove the masks, this community is going to be seeking legal action to remove it, so it's your choice.
It's a mandate, not a law.
That's right.
It's a mandate, not a law.
Superintendent's
It's a
gonna be
fair
removed.
tactic. It worked on you, didn't work on us. We're not afraid.
Other supplies, with our art lesson funds, we will be starting some cohorts again here at the elementary school. Kevin Dixon, who is one of our Type 1 teachers, will be taking over that program and organizing it. And we hope to have a program after school for all K through 6 students starting very soon. So that's one positive thing from our art professor funds that came through. And that's all. About a high school report.
First of all, I apologize for not having that moment. Good evening. The 2021-22 school year was off to a fast and dreary start. The athletic calendar has been filled with many sporting events. Our athletic teams are off to a great start. I would encourage you to attend events and every camp to help support our student athletes, musicians, and staff officials whenever you can. Our students give a lot of time and dedication to their activities, and we are very proud of our effort. Picture Day was held at the high school on the 16th of September. There were many students absent for pictures, and the makeup day was to be scheduled for a later time in October. The ASVAB test will be given to all juniors and any student interested in entering the military on September 28th. The entire junior class will be participating in the administration of the ASVAB, and this will count as an artifact for their career portfolios in accordance with the PA state standards. October will be a busy month for testing at the high school as well, as the school day SAT and the PSAT will be given at the high school during the month of October. This Friday is for the homecoming football game. Crowning of the King and Queen will take place at 6:15 prior to the football game on 11. This is something new for Keystone. I would like to invite you all to attend the football games. The Keystone Panthers will be taking on the Buckshot Bucks. The homecoming dance will be held off campus on Saturday evening. After a great deal of trying to make things work, the homecoming parade will be held Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Mrs. Morrison has put a lot of time and effort into organizing these events, and we are grateful for her time and effort, so thank you, Mrs. Morrison. Mrs. Sheets has also requested a whole prom off campus this year. She is looking to have a prom at the Haskell House, and it was held there last year with much success. She has asked for your consideration on this matter. Typically, our reports focus on sharing the happenings in the school buildings and students. However, I would be remiss if I did not share the current climate of Keystone High School. This is my 13th year at Keystone, and I have not seen a start to the school year such as this. The level of suspensions, both in school and out of school, has been staggering. Typically, there are many lower level behaviors that occur, but the level of behavior that I have witnessed at high school is very troubling. I believe that the discipline of the community has had a negative impact on the school and the behavior of its students. It is my hope that things will improve and the behavior issues in the school subside. I also believe that as an administrator, it is my job to protect the health, safety, and welfare of all students and staff. Today, we find ourselves in uncharted territory. I have many students who are fearful of coming to school. They are not fearful because of violence, but instead they are fearful because they are worried that they may contract the virus while in the building. I have others who are fearful to come to school because they are worried about polio. Many students who have been tested for causes for COVID-19 have been chastised by peers. Many are being told in person and on social media things such as, why would you go get tested? Thanks for ruining our year, or thanks for ruining our homecoming. On the other hand, I have students who feel that their rights are being infringed upon. I do not know what the answer to any of this is, but I'm greatly concerned. Our school is divided, and it is very troubling to me. I would like to be able to fix this problem in a manner that benefits all of our students, because after all, they are the utmost important. Because currently, I'm at a loss of how to do this. Thank you.
A, approval of two van drivers, Jennifer Roberts and David Kibble for van contract. B, letter of resignation from Alicia McMillan, paraprofessional, effective December 3rd, 2021. C, letter of intent to retire from Brad Wagner, high school principal / athletic director, effective August 15th, 2022. This is only his intent. You've got to turn in a second letter before the end of this year or to become licened. D, the hiring of a high school science teacher. The personnel committee interviewed, and we have chosen David McCollum. We are looking to hire him at step 2 at a salary of $49,704. E, personnel items from the athletic council. Number 1, letter of resignation from Allison Albright as girls junior high basketball team A coach. Number 2, letter of resignation from Mallory Reed as girls junior high basketball team B coach. 3, the hiring of Mallory Reed as girls junior high basketball team A coach. Number 4, the hiring of Jim McConnell as girls junior high basketball team B coach. Number 5, Rick Sherry as girls basketball program volunteer. Number 6, Mike Brown as boys basketball program volunteer. Number 7, letter of resignation from Bailey Farrell as cheerleading competitive spirit varsity and junior high assistant coach.